Hello everyone and welcome back to the Should You Read series. This episode being The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey, the revised and updated version. So what's in the book The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey, at least the revised and updated version? The chapters dedicated include the Total Money Makeover Challenge, Denial to yourself and to others, Debt Myths, Money Myths, 2 more hurdles, Save $1,000 fast for your emergency fund, the debt snowball method of paying off your debt, Finish the emergency fund for 3 to 6 months, Maximize your retirement investing, College funding for your kids, Pay off the home mortgage, Build wealth like crazy, and then finally, live like no one else. We'll start off with what I didn't like about the Total Money Makeover. The first of which is, I do not totally agree with his stance on credit cards, but I do get why he says not to use them, and I personally use credit cards for a few reasons. It's more secure, I get cash back, and it's easy to use. I've never paid a cent in interest payments ever. However, most people do not properly use credit cards, and they would be better off not having them. Additionally, even to the point that Dave Ramsey would say that I'm still not paying any interest payments, he would assume that since I'm using a credit card, I'm more likely to spend cash than I would normally if I were to just actually have the cash in my hand and make the physical payments in the store. So it's incentivizing you to pay more than you normally would. However, if you're somebody with a frugal mindset, that's not necessarily the truth, in my opinion. The second part that I didn't totally like about the Total Money Makeover was his stance on loans not being a tool. Now, for personal use, I can totally see how getting a loan for something other than a house is really dumb. It's completely a waste of money. If you can't afford the couch that you wanted to buy, getting a loan for that couch does not make sense. However, if you have a small business and obtain a low-interest loan that's well secured by cash flow, it could be worth it. However, this book is written under the premise of Murphy's Law, which is that anything that could go wrong will go wrong. So having a loan, that's like one of the ways that you can really have something go wrong, because you need to make those payments regardless of whether or not you have the cash to make it. So for the example of the year 2020, when we had the virus that was sweeping over the entire planet, if you were a restaurant owner in the United States and you thought before any of this was happening that getting a loan for your business would make sense, well then Dave Ramsey's Murphy's Law situation would come into effect, where he's saying loans are not really a good tool because, after all, if something could go wrong, it probably would go wrong, and that loan is not going to be helpful at all. So take it as you will. Loans could be useful, but again, if the worst case scenario happens, loans are the worst thing that you could possibly have. The third thing that I didn't really like about the Total Money Makeover was the overuse of viewers' experiences. In small doses throughout the book, it would have been okay, but in his book, at least the revised version, there are way too many, and oftentimes they take up more than a page each. And typically they all follow the same pattern. Number 1, I used to be in debt because of credit cards and loans. Stage 2, I discovered Dave Ramsey's baby steps. And then stage 3, I worked really hard and followed through, and now I'm debt free. And I've been feeling better ever since. Now we'll get into what I liked about the Total Money Makeover. It's written from somebody who was broke and got himself out. So having the personal experience of being burdened by debt makes his arguments even more compelling on why he hates debt so much. Even though I disagree in some instances, which I mentioned previously, the book is written for the majority of people. Even though with proper management, credit cards and loans could be good, the general advice to avoid them altogether is best for the majority of people, and in general, if you're going to give advice in a blanket format, such as with a book, it's probably best to just say outright that you should avoid them altogether. The second thing that I liked about the Total Money Makeover is his baby steps. I think the 7 baby steps are excellent because gradual progression makes people feel better and are more likely to complete difficult goals. So the first of which is save $1,000 for a starter emergency fund. Step 2 is pay off all debt except for the house with the debt snowball method. Step 3 is save 3 to 6 months of expenses in emergency funds. Number 4 is invest at least 15% of your income for retirement. Number 5, save for your kids' college fund. Step 6, pay off your home early. And then number 7, the last one, is build wealth. The next thing that I liked about the Total Money Makeover was his Tidbits of Information sections. Throughout the book, there are common myths that people believe about finance, and this is followed by Dave's opinion on what is reality. So for an example, one of the ones in the book was a myth: if I loan money to a friend, I am helping them. This is one that a lot of people have. They think that, oh, this person needs money, I have money, I know, I'll give you a loan. However, the truth is, in Dave's opinion, that you can easily destroy a friendship giving them a loan. Also, the shocking facts sections. These showcase just how unprepared most people are when it comes to financial planning. And finally, there are still the Dave Rants sections and the Dumb Math with Stupid Tax sections. So with the Dave Rants, that's typically a person's behavior-based choices when thinking about money. Such as, I shouldn't have 2 separate checking accounts with my wife because I don't want her spending money. And he would put a rant about that on the person's personal behavior about whether or not that's a good idea. And then there's the Dumb Math section, which is showcasing that commonly held ideas aren't so good, and he's showing the math on why. In my opinion, the best chapters in the book would be number 1, Chapter 9, Maximize Retirement Investing. Number 2 would be Chapter 5, 2 More Hurdles, Keeping Up with the Joneses. And number 3 would be Chapter 4, Money Myths. So with the third best chapter, the Money Myths one, the main idea is showcasing what everyday millionaires are doing. And it's nothing fancy or difficult. Avoid the idea of getting rich quick. That leads to more issues. And avoid the idea of getting rich easy. That also leads to more issues. It's understanding that being a millionaire means having $1 million and not spending it. So it begins that frugal mindset. And what it means is you need to really be saving as much as you possibly can. The second best chapter, the 2 More Hurdles, Keeping Up with the Joneses, the main idea is to avoid lifestyle creep and stop caring what other people think. The phrase keeping up with the Joneses means to not be outdone by your neighbor. An example of this is maybe your neighbor across the street got an outdoor pool and it was really big and it looked pretty nice and you can see that they're having a lot of fun with it. To not be outdone by your neighbor and keeping up with the Joneses means that you also would want to build something outside of your house that would be equally as appealing and make you look good compared to your neighbors. Maybe you also would build some sort of pool or a basketball court or something dumb and expensive. He says to live like no one else so you can live like no one else. And to live like no one else today means to cut your spending and save a lot more so that you can live like no one else later by having better savings. But in my opinion, the number 1 best chapter in the book is to maximize retirement investing. The main idea is, what does it take to actually retire? Will my lifestyle be better or worse in retirement? And where should your money be placed? What are the best tax-advantaged accounts out there? But the question isn't, should I read the Total Money Makeover? The question is, should you read the Total Money Makeover? And the people this book is for is people who are constantly struggling with debt. This is the book that is targeted for that audience. And also, anyone starting to take their personal finance seriously. If you were just thinking about it but didn't really know much about it, on what you should do, this is also a good book to start with. Then there's the section of who this book might be for. A person who likes to spend a lot of money. There's a lot of chapters on the importance of saving money and why it matters to you. So if you are somebody that spends a lot of money and you were thinking about possibly changing that, this would be a good book. And additionally, those of you who haven't yet started saving for retirement. It seems hard to do at first, but it's something that you can gradually work into, and it's a lot easier as time goes on. Lastly, the people who this book is definitely not for. It's somebody looking for information on picking stocks or bonds, and people who are already having their personal finances under control. If you already have your personal finances under control, you don't have debt, you already save a ton of your money, this might not be the best book for you because it's just going to be reinforcing what you're already doing. So are you interested in reading The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey? I do have a link for this book in the description down below. So if you're new here, subscribe and hit the bell to stay up to date on other future videos I'll be making. And if you liked the video, hit the like button to showcase that off. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next episode.